Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the First Look series here on College Football Red Zone, where we take a holistic look at all 138 programs, talk about some of the notable roster changes that happened with each team over the course of the offseason, as well as give you that record prediction based on how I'm seeing things here in the springtime as well. And today we find ourselves back in what was arguably the best conference in the group of five last year in the American, talking about some American Conference football and a team that could be a little bit slept on in terms of American Conference title aspirations. So I'm very excited to talk about this particular team in this particular first look, this aspect of the first look series. And I just hope that you guys are excited for it. And if you are, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me real fast. Make sure you go ahead, hit that like button as well as hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And so, with all that under consideration, let's go ahead and get things going here. The UTSA Roadrunners will now be coming in as my 80th ranked team in college football entering this season, and could be foreseen as one of the better teams in the American by the time that this year is all said and done, because I do think that UTSA has one of the best programs in this conference, and I think that's a little bit of a warmer take up given what they've been the last couple of years, but I really like the talent that they bring in and year out. And I also think that they have one of the more experienced coaches as well in Jeff Traylor, who is entering his seventh year. He's done very nice work at UTSA, providing that 53-26 overall record in his time, and has led a very smooth transition from the CUSA over to the American, where we did see him win multiple CUSA titles prior to that realignment over to the American Conference as well. But it's certainly not a team that is going to be without questions. Obviously, Owen McCown is going to be back on this team, and I think Owen McCown is going to be a fun watch of this upcoming season. Definitely bringing some experience at the quarterback position, which is always a very nice sign. But again, it's not going to be perfect. There is a couple questions that they're going to have to address, mainly in terms of who is Owen McCown going to throw the football to, and it's going to be a lot of his Owen McCown is going to have a lot more on his shoulders, I think, this upcoming season, because they do lose Robert Henry Jr., a running back who is looking to make his NFL dream come true, likely is going to be either drafted as a day free type of player or is going to be an undrafted free agent, but still was one of the better running backs in the American last season. So replacing Robert Henry Jr., someone that is going to the NFL, that's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, right? So that's something to certainly keep an eye on moving forward in terms of who's going to be playing at that running back position as well. And then who takes over in the wide receiver room as well, right? The wide receiver room, who's Owen McCown going to throw the football to? Because one of their top receivers, and Devin McCowan, he actually ends up leaving to go play at Ohio State and is looking to help backfill as they're looking to build some depth behind Jeremiah Smith and Chris Henry Jr. as well, as long as some of those other receivers. So Devin McCowan no longer here in San Antonio. He's going to be playing in Columbus instead. But really, other than that, though, I think across the board, like you can make a serious argument that this roster overall is an improved roster in comparison to last season, right? Especially when you're talking about the secondary. I think the secondary, in spite of losing Jimmy Roderick to SMU in the transfer portal, I think this is secondary could be really good. I like the additions that they made in safety for not only Nate Robinson Jr. and Xavier Walton, both coming from non-FBS schools, but they combined for 10 interceptions collectively between those two. So you're getting two ball hawks in the back of their secondary. And you also bring in Joel Rogers, who comes in from LSU, left after the Brian Kelly firing that happened, and didn't play very much, because LSU, has a lot of really talented football players down there in Baton Rouge, leaving to try to get more of an opportunity here. And so hasn't really shown what he can do on the field very much, but he's a former four-star recruit coming out of high school. He's got the talent. He just hasn't been able to display that talent. So a little bit of a dart throw in terms of bringing him in as well, but someone that you think is going to be very, very good coming into like this season as well. And I didn't even mention one of the four-star players that they are actually bringing in directly from the high school ranks, Ashad Chapman. He's a corner who was a four-star recruit in the 2026 high school recruiting class. He is here on this UTSA roster, and I would not be surprised at all if Ashad Chapman is starting day one in this Roadrunner secondary. I think he is that talented, and I think he would provide some instant juice to the Roadrunners secondary as well. Um, but yeah, I think the secondary is definitely going to be one of their biggest strengths. I think going into this season, also very fascinated by who they brought in at tight end as well. Miles Campbell, who transfers from Florida A&M, who had to take a little bit of a detour after things didn't work out at his first stop. He goes to Florida A&M, balls out at Florida A&M, and now is back up at the FBS ranks. Former four-star recruit, and is transferring upwards. So you would think that Miles Campbell has a chance to turn into a new leaf and be productive, like in this Jeff Traylor offense, which knows how to put up points at any given time. And we've seen that in multiple games that UTSA played in last year under Owen McCown. Shoot, could Miles Campbell possibly be that top target? I think if Miles Campbell does emerge as the top receiving threat on this UTSA Roadrunners offense, then you're playing with house money, and that's going to raise the ceiling of this offense, and it's going to create a really good offense leading into 2026. Last thing that I definitely wanted to talk about before getting into the scheduling aspect of things and why I have UTSA is that team that should be taken seriously in terms of winning the American this year. They did lose Nana Honolulu to Virginia, and that's a decent player for them. He had 5 sacks last year, but I actually thought that they backfilled pretty nicely. Josiah Simpleton comes in from Colorado State. Pablo, he had 6.5 TFLs from that interior defensive line spot, and with that being said, I think a Josiah Sampleton addition will help just from the aspect of, hey, he's going to step in and he's going to help create some one-on-one matchups for the edge rushers because he'll constantly command double teams moving forward, right? So, a very promising UTSA football team for sure as we go ahead and get things rolling here in terms of who do we have in terms of how the schedule is going to ultimately work out for them this year. So let's go ahead and check out the schedule for UTSA. And I really like this scheduling breakout in terms of their conference schedule. They do have some intriguing games in a non-conference. Texas Rio Grande Valley. I know that's an FCS team, and I'm counting that as a safe win. But at the same time, I mean, UTRGV, they've been really investing in their program. And, you want to talk about a team that could be in the FBS ranks by 2035, give it a decade. I mean, Rio Grande Valley is going to be a team to watch. But for right now, I'm going to put some faith in UTSA winning that game. The other non-conference games, I think they're really nice non-conference games. Obviously, the war on I-35 between them and Texas State. You want to talk about two fan bases that genuinely hate each other. UTSA and Texas State genuinely hate each other. So that's a big game, and I know UTSA is going to want their get back after losing to Texas State in their home building last year. They're going to want to get some revenge when they make the trip to San Marcos, Texas as well. They also obviously played Texas, and I think Texas is going to be too much to handle, but let's say Texas doesn't really show up. UTSA is going to have the offensive pieces to at least make the Longhorns a little bit uncomfortable. Definitely not calling for an upset by any means, but they could be a little bit uncomfortable if Texas doesn't show up to play there. And then finish out with Colorado State in non-conference play. Should be a better team under Jim Mora, but at least you get them at home, and I think that's going to benefit the Roadrunners, which that's another point as well. This has been a team that has played really well at home. It's just the question is, are they going to be able to do enough on the road? Because the road UTSA team and the home UTSA team, that's been two completely different entities, right? So let's get into the other part of this, and that is the conference schedule. And I think there's 4 safe wins in the conference schedule. Whether they make the American title game or not is going to depend on some games that are going to be happening when you get into mid-October to the very early parts of November. That is, you got both USF and Navy at home. I think it's important to win both those games. I actually think UTSA could pull that upset off against Navy because we have seen Navy end up going ahead and losing a couple of players to the NFL. So they might not be the same Navy football team. You also got Tulane on the road and Florida Atlantic on the road. That could be some interesting trip up spots as well. Even though Tulane downgrading in head coach, going from John Summerall to Will Hall, then Florida Atlantic. I think Florida Atlantic better than last year, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for Florida Atlantic to overcome some of the better teams in the American. And I do think UTSA is certainly one of those better teams that I talked about and discussed, right? So I have an 11-1 ceiling, and I don't think that that's ridiculous that they're close to that ceiling at the end of the day. Again, I don't really have them losing to Texas. They're going to lose one of the toss-up games within conference play, but I think that you're talking about a team that's going to ultimately be in the hunt to win this conference at the end of the year, and might be a little bit more of a hot take. I think UTSA. I think you should look at them as a conference champion in 2026. I think they have what it takes to win it all with the improvements on the defensive side of the ball. You got an experienced head coach, an experienced quarterback, and you see a lot of these other teams in this conference get poached from the transfer portal and the coaching carousel. I think this is a golden opportunity for UTSA to win their first American Conference title in football this year. We'll see who ends up being the representative in terms of making it to the American Conference title game. I did mention that Army should definitely be a team receiving consideration, but you can certainly make an argument for. I believe there's 6 teams that you can make an argument for to win this conference, and you wouldn't get a ton of pushback from me. It's going to be one of the more open races that I think we see, not just in the G6 specifically, but in all of conference college football. It could be the quintessential chaos conference in the G6, but definitely want to hear your thoughts about what you think about UTSA football. Am I a little too high or am I a little bit too low on UTSA? Definitely let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, as well as hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.